Hi everyone, and welcome to video number 29 on USA Conflict 1954 to 1975. We're coming towards the end of the course now, ladies and gentlemen. And this video is all about America. Why did the United States of America fail in the Vietnam War? That's a good question. But before we start the video explaining why that actually happened, we have to go over to the Match of the Day studio, ladies and gentlemen, for the latest football results. Good evening, and here are the latest football results. Aston Villa 3, Birmingham City 0. Chelsea 1, Arsenal 1. Leicester City 2, Manchester United 2. And finally, Liverpool 0, Rochdale 8. Wow, what a shock that would be, that final result. Liverpool 0, Rochdale 8. What a surprise. It would never happen, would it? I wonder how that would happen. And in a way, ladies and gentlemen, the shock, the surprise at a score like that was the same that was felt for the shock and surprise of a superpower like the United States of America not winning the Vietnam War. So that's what we're going to look at in this video. Why would America, or why did America not triumph in the Vietnam War? As ever, ladies and gentlemen, we need to look at both sides of the story, two sides of the story. The first half of the video, I will concentrate on the strengths, the successes of North Vietnam. And then for the final part, I will look at the weaknesses or the failures of America. So two sides to answer the question, why did America fail? Let's start with the strengths of North Vietnam. We've seen this map many times before. There's North Vietnam, tiny little country. How did that tiny little country defeat the might of America? Well, there's a few things we need to get clear. 1980, the great ABBA, fantastic. The winner takes it all, the loser standing small. Well, who'd have thought that a small country like North Vietnam would emerge as the winner? Reasons. Number one, Vietnamese culture. Remember, before all this started, Vietnam had been one country. North and South had been united. So there was a background there, there was a history of Vietnam as one country. They shared the same language. Many people in the South wanted to unite or reunite and be one country again. You've got to remember that people from North Vietnam, they understood the geography, they understood the terrain, the ground on which they were fighting, they understood the environment in South Vietnam. That's an important part. Equally, they were very determined. They were fighting for what they saw as their country. They had an idea that they all were in it together. Young, old, men, women, trained, untrained. Also, they were very willing to accept the high human cost of the war. You've got to remember, over 500,000 people from North Vietnam died in the war. Compare that to America's 58,000 dead. But America didn't want to pay the price. The North Vietnamese did, ladies and gentlemen. Also, down in South Vietnam, their leader, Thieu, was very unpopular in parts of South Vietnam. The Americans, using search and destroy tactics, made them unpopular. Many peasants, many normal people living in their villages down in South Vietnam supported the North. So that's one factor, that's one reason which helps to explain why North Vietnam was successful. Secondly, the support of other communist countries. There's China here, and then USSR or Russia up there as well. Those two communist countries supported North Vietnam in money terms alone from 1965 to 1968. They sent over $2 billion worth of help to North Vietnam to help them fight against the Americans. The USSR sent 8,000 anti-aircraft guns, 200 anti-aircraft missile sites. China sent over 300,000 troops. So communist support helped North Vietnam. Then we move to a very important point, tactics. The North Vietnamese army fought a guerrilla war. It was very, very effective. Think back or check back to video number 21, where I described some of these tactics. For example, the tunnels. They adapted well to jungle fighting. They understood the terrain in which they were fighting. Linking that to their strong commitment, their strong determination, plus the support of the villagers, who didn't necessarily like Thieu and the South Vietnamese regime, they had a strong belief in their cause that they were right. The South Vietnamese army, the ARVN, many of the times they had poor training. They didn't have a stronger belief. The villagers, remember, I said, often supported the North Vietnamese. That was because the North Vietnamese promised a fairer distribution of land. So that was attractive to many poor people down in South Vietnam. And the final factor which helped North Vietnam, go back to our map. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Over 1,000 kilometers, ladies and gentlemen, through neighboring Laos and Cambodia, and this proved to be a vital supply line for North Vietnam to take their supplies of weapons and men down to fight in South Vietnam. America realized this and often bombed the Ho Chi Minh Trail, but they never successfully stopped the supply route. So there we see 3, maybe 4 reasons which were showing the strengths of North Vietnam. But despite these strengths, they were still fighting against the most powerful nation on this planet. Those strengths probably should still not have been enough to win, but yet they did. Therefore, the second part of the video, the second part of the key question, why did USA fail in Vietnam? We have to consider the actions, the decisions, the weaknesses of America itself. So let's have a look. What factors, what reasons played a part? The late great Ian Dury and the Blockheads, ladies and gentlemen. 1977. Reasons to be cheerful. Part 3. Reasons to be cheerful. 1, 2, 3. Well, there were more than 3 reasons why North Vietnam was cheerful. We just looked at 4. But equally, there were more than 3 reasons why America were not cheerful, but in fact tearful, because they lose. Why did America lose? What mistakes did they make? They had more weapons. They had better weapons. They had a huge army. They were richer. Surely they should have won. But they didn't. And here's why. First of all, just go back to what I said about the North Vietnamese culture. Compare that to the American culture. They didn't really fully understand Vietnam. Didn't understand the language. They had to use interpreters. They made many mistakes. For example, moving people out of the villages. That was often their holy, sacred burial place of their ancestors. They are upsetting the local population in South Vietnam. Would that population then support Americans? Possibly not. So therefore you could argue they failed to win over the support of the local people. Also, the Americans were seen as unpopular because they were defending the the corrupt regime, as many in South Vietnam thought, of the French and later President Thieu. So if Thieu is unpopular, the Americans are defending Thieu, the Americans will be unpopular. That's logic. So the culture plays a part. But we have to finally examine the real key issues, the military mistakes. And there were many. Let's have a look at them. They had the wrong tactics. The Americans thought, right, we are going to win because we are going to bomb our way to victory. We are going to send in more and more troops. We are going to inflict huge levels of damage on the North Vietnamese. Well, remember what I said in the first part of the video. The North Vietnamese would accept that damage. So therefore the American argument was flawed. Americans only had limited experience of the terrain, of guerrilla warfare, jungle warfare. So they were slow to adapt to the style of fighting that was going on. They were using search and destroy. They were using chemical weapons. They thought, right, we will break the morale of the North Vietnamese people. But this did not work. Put that all together. Remember, they're trying to push people away from the villages. That's upset them. They're not breaking the morale. They're using weapons which cause terrible harm, but that's not breaking the morale. There's a mismatch here. The American tactic was wrong. They made errors. For example, I did a video on it, the My Lai massacre. It backfired. Let's consider the soldiers, the American soldiers themselves. Many of them were very, very young and very, very inexperienced. The average age of the American soldier in Vietnam? 19. There's a song by Paul Hardcastle. All those who remember the war, they won't forget what they've seen. Destruction of men in their prime, whose average age was 19 years of age. Just a few years older than you, ladies and gentlemen. And they are fighting in a strange land. They're fighting an enemy who won't give in. They're fighting an enemy who doesn't seem to be shocked by terrible human loss. How would they feel at that age? You've got to remember as well, many of the American soldiers were conscripts. In other words, they were forced to join the army. They did 1 year. Now you might think, oh, that's fine, I've only got the last 12 months. In a way, yes. But that did not help the Americans win. Do you know why? Any ideas? Well, put it this way. You arrive in Vietnam. You are inexperienced. You don't really know how to fight this war. 43% of American soldiers died in the first 3 months. Then, of course, you learn. You get better. You have to survive. So 3 months, 6 months, you're beginning to find out how to work out how to survive, how to fight effectively. 9 months, right, okay, I'm getting quite good now. 11 months, right, I nearly really know what I'm doing. 12 months, right, I'm experienced. Out you go back to America. Hooray, I've survived. Get the next lot in, 12 for 12 months. What happens? It repeats again. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. 43% die in the first 3 months. Can you see that that is a pattern which will not help the Americans survive very well? It also led to a conflict between the officers and the normal soldiers. The officers wanted to get really good results so they would get promoted. The soldiers just wanted to survive. In their head, they had the initials DEROS, D-E-R-O-S. Do you know what that stands for? Date eligible for return overseas. In other words, the date that they have to get back to America. That's what was important to them. But if their officers saying, charge lads, let's get in here and take this land, And the soldiers are thinking, that bloke's a bit crazy, all I want to do is survive. There's a mismatch again between the American officers and the American soldiers. And it led to more than 700 cases of what was known as fragging. Do you know what that is? Well, it's actually the soldiers killing their own officers. He's going to get us killed. We don't want to do that. Let's kill him and just say, oh, he died, he was blown up. That shows again that the American soldiers, the army itself, was divided. A divided army isn't going to win, ladies and gentlemen. Led to very low morale of the troops. Compare that to the high morale of the North Vietnamese. Okay? The conditions were harsh. It was tough weather. The North Vietnamese used horrible booby traps which caused terrible injuries, all lowering the morale of the American soldiers, which then led to an increase in drug usage, drug abuse, especially marijuana. 1971, hospital treatment. 5,000 American soldiers were in hospital because of the wounds from the war. But 20,000 were in hospital because of the effects of drug abuse. Is an army going to win if they're using drugs to that extent? Between 1966 and 1973, there were 500,000 cases of desertion from the American army. Wow. Can we see that even though America was a massively powerful superpower, on the ground in Vietnam there were huge problems with the army, with the soldiers, with mistakes tactically and low morale, ladies and gentlemen. Put that together with a lack of support from America. We've seen in other videos where there was a growth of opposition to the war back home in the United States, and that had some impact on the soldiers in Vietnam as well. So there we see both sides of the argument, both sides of the question, why did America fail? The strengths, the good points of North Vietnam against the weaknesses, the failures, the mistakes of America. And so, just like Liverpool 0, Rochdale 8, the Stars and Stripes were defeated in Vietnam. So, hope this has been useful. You've now got all the information you will need for the exam. All the videos we've looked at so far, the syllabus is now covered. I'll do 2 final videos for you in this section, ladies and gentlemen, and that will show you hopefully how to use the information to prepare for the exam. I'll go through the exam questions and show you how hopefully you could build yourself a high scoring answer. So that's coming soon. As ever, I hope it's been useful. All the best now. See you soon.